Hello everyone, this is Don back with the next progress report on the War Corsair. Alright, this weekend, yesterday, Saturday, today, Sunday, I worked on the ignition system again. The last video I mentioned I'd found the vacuum leaks here, so I took those off, kind of rounded them out a little bit, got some regular hose clamps and reclamped them, so now the vacuum leaks are gone. So after that I decided, alright, let's fire it up, see how it starts. And I got it started. Pretty quickly it started. It run much better. Had to readjust the idle mixture screw, and that little screw is extremely sensitive, man. Just not an eighth of a turn really throws the air-fuel ratios from one extreme to the other. So, but that worked fine. But I'm still having a ignition backfire. It's still backfiring through the carb every now and then. The harder you try to start it, playing with fuel, the worse it gets. So I'd ordered an oscilloscope. Hasn't come yet. It's in Erie today, so I should have it tomorrow. But the goal was to hook it up to the cam and crank sensors to find out if the signals are bad. So what I did instead, waiting for that, I decided I've got these sensors here, these Hall effect sensors. This one's an NPN. This is what I installed today. Yesterday I pulled the gearbox off. I figured, well, if I put some trigger buttons on the flywheel, I can pick it up right here on the crank. I was originally wanting to put it up here. So I dug these out. I have two left. NPNs, normally open, so it completes the ground. When this is triggered, when a sensor passes, it turns this on. A little LED light comes on, shows that it's detecting metal, and it closes the circuit, and it completes the ground. So I got that all done. I had to pull the gearbox off, and then there's a damper disc in there, and it's in such a way that I couldn't use the aluminum. It has three legs to it, and these sensors, the trigger wheel on the crank sensor in the back has 3 pins on one side, 3 pins on the other. They're exactly 180 degrees apart. So with these 3 legs at 120 degrees, I can't put pins in the aluminum. Plus the clutch disc part, the damper disc sticks out to where the sensor would be picking that up too. So my only option was to get into the ring gear. Let's see, where's my light here? So what I had to do is just unbolt the gearbox, take it off, disconnect the oil lines, pull the starter off, 4 bolts, pull the whole gearbox off. It got me into the flywheel. Now there's the flywheel, and you can actually see one little tooth right there, right there in the top. It's hard to tell in this video, but I got a screw there. So I took the flywheel off, put it on my CNC, drew up a drawing, and I was able to go in and drill the bolt patterns. The first one, like at 12 o'clock, is at 10 degrees. The next one's from 10 to there is 55 degrees, and then from the next one to the next one's 32 degrees, and it comes back around 97 degrees and starts all over. But they're exactly 180 degrees apart, because as the crank makes one revolution and triggers this with 3 pulses, that'd be like cylinder 1. Next time it's cylinder 3. Next time it's cylinder 4, and then 2-4. So it fires 1, 3, 2, 4, I believe. So every time the crank turns 180 degrees, it tells that it's at top dead center of one cylinder. And then the cam sensor syncs it up to let it know which cylinder, because it could be cylinder 1 or it could be cylinder 2 at top dead center compression. So that's where the cam comes in. So anyway, I got it all together, and I just power this up, power and ground, and I set the sensor that when the pins come by, and I just crank the starter or just roll it, and it blinks fine. It works great. So I go to hook it up. I cut the original wiring off from the original crank sensor, and I tie in the wire to it, and it turned the light on. It was triggering the switch without the pins. And if you move the pin past it, the trigger pin, it didn't do anything. It just stayed on. I was like, well, that's not working. And it wasn't working on the computer. So I figured, well, I did see where they said that most crank triggers in cars were PNP style, and this is NPN. This makes a ground. So I have some PNPs in the house, and I hooked it up. Now this one makes a positive. It puts out positive 12 volts because it's wired to 12 volts. I just wire it to the battery. So anyway, And then in the computer, I have to change some jumper settings on this little board back here. I got to tell it it's a Hall sensor instead of a variable reluctance sensor. Then I have to put a jumper on a set of pins to do a 1K pull-up resistor. So it's pulling it up to a 5-volt rail. So all that works. But the first sensor wouldn't trigger. So now this is the PNP hooked up. If you watch that little circuit board right there in the corner, you'll see the trigger. That's the crank trigger. Now, so that works. Anything, I'm just touching it here to the metal, and you can see it's on, off, on, off. So that's working perfect. I don't know how it works. It's feeding voltage back into it when it's, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it's right. All right, now, this is just a metal ruler. Here's the cam sensor. Now I'm just going to stick this down in here, and it's magnetic. You can see it. Sticks. And then watch there's a second trigger in there, which will be green. See, it just blinks. So anytime a tooth passes this sensor, even if I go left and right, get back in here where I can see, it's just sweeping it back and forth like this. It triggers just fine, but it's got to be a trigger problem or a noise problem from one of these two sensors. So I was hoping to get this on there working and then leave this one set up, it's still hooked up as a VR sensor, and I want to roll over, because when I'm rolling it over with cranking with these plugs out, I can actually see the sparks. And it'll spark once, another one might spark boom boom, back to back twice. It's erratic, and that's why it's popping. It's not consistently firing. So that's kind of where I've been at. So now I need to get back on eBay and order some PNP normally open. Both of these are normally open, so when they're triggered, the switch closes and completes the path to ground. This one completes the path to 12-volt power. So I need to get this style and this size. That one, I could literally drill this out and put it in there, but this one is too big to fit in here. It will not work. I've got 5 of these things, so this would have to be clear in there, and of course the valve covers in the way that this one physically will not fit. It is so much bigger than those guys. So that's all I managed to get done this weekend, other than getting her back running, getting these problems fixed. So that is fixed, and it does run extremely nice and smooth now. And it ran good before, even with that vacuum leaks, but they're closed up now. If I run the program on the computer to do a hardware test up here in the corners, hardware test. Let's see, test outputs. You come in here, enable the test, and then you can come in here and turn on, let's see, channel 3 would be number 2. Let's see if it works. Oh, I gotta turn the power on for the plane to make it work, but let me see if it'll work, because it basically bypasses the inputs. You gotta turn the power on. The ignition turns the power onto the coils, so the coils ain't gonna fire. Even though this computer's powered up, just plugging in. Let's try again. Yep, there we go. And they all work perfect, man. I can test all 4 of them. That's let's try channel 4. Okay. Works fine. So that tells me the ignition system, all the way from the computer out to the ignition drivers, to the coils, to the plugs, everything works perfect, and it doesn't skip a beat. But if I'm cranking it, it's just intermittent all over, and it's not consistent. So that's kind of where I'm at. So now I gotta order up. Damn light turn off. Damn thing. Junk. Absolute junk. So that's where I'm at. Let me go ahead and shut all this thing down. This is Tuner Studio. You have to buy this stuff. You can get a free version of it, but unplug it, it takes it offline. So let me go ahead and turn the power off on this thing so I don't forget. As far as inside the plane, ignition, power. Still haven't gotten anything else finished on this. That's still where it's at. But I think that's going to do it for this update. I don't think there's anything else. using these new sensors, it only needs one wire in instead of two. The other one is for the ground side of these VR, variable reluctance sensor. So I don't need this wire. I can desolder it on the board and move it into another pin to either use a ground, or if there's a 12 volt out on that, I can use it. Otherwise, I got to wire the 12 volts like into the ignition power relay, so it powers up those sensors when you turn the key on for the start the motor. Turning on the master of the engine doesn't do anything. So, all right, I think that's going to do her. This was a little time consuming, but the holes I drilled laid out perfect with that CNC. The biggest thing was getting it bolted down and finding the center of the flywheel. I made a little bushing, put in there, and bolted it to the table, clamped the flywheel down also, and then took the bolt back out, and then put a 1/4 inch dowel pin in the CNC motor, moved it around till the CNC motor went perfectly straight into the center of the dowel pin in the flywheel, and then pulled it out, put a bit in it, and then I took and run the program so the computer knew this was 00 on XY, and then it came out to, it's 5 and 5.2 inches. It's 10.4 inches center to center of the ring gear, and I just went through that steel ring gear and pecked 6 spots just deep enough so I could take it off the bench and then put it on the drill press, drilled it out to tap it for 832 screws. So let's see, the screws I used, I think they're still sitting here somewhere. Got so much trash, and they're stainless, and it triggers with stainless, so those are perfect. And then I made some tiny little bushings to put in it too. I had a piece of 3/8 inch stock, cut it down to 5/16, drilled it, tapped it, and then sliced off 4 little 1/8 inch pieces to put under the screws so they will stand out a little farther than before, stand out far enough, because I had to get away from that disc inside. That's stupid. I don't know why it doesn't like to turn off. Oh well, junk. Okay, I guess that's going to do her. Alright, I guess as always, appreciate everybody taking time to watch my videos. Feel free to leave any comments, questions, concerns, and appreciate the ones people leave now. And as always, don't be afraid to leave comments. Alright, now it's time to go in and get some dinner going. It's been like 40 degrees here all day, spitting rain and snow, so cold day. Yesterday was nice, but it got up to like 60 after dark. I can hear it falling again right now. Alright, everybody, I will be back Tuesday, so I'm not going to have this fixed by Tuesday, because it'll take a few days, week to get the new sensors in. And then once I get them on, so I'll find something else to keep me busy. I need to make a bushing in order to put one in here, and they'll just clear in here, but I want to get that one on first, see if it'll start and run any better without popping. And then if not, then I'll change this out, make them both Hall effect sensors. Okay, everybody, that's going to do her. I will see you guys again on Tuesday, and hopefully I'll have some more positive news for you. But so far, everything's working good, except for the backfiring on starting, and it's an ignition problem. It's a noise problem or something. And if I get the oscilloscope in, I'll be able to hook that up and then check these sensors and see what they're doing. Since I got the stock one unloaded here, I can just hook to it with the scope and then see what it does. See what it looks like, see if it's got any noise in the system. But I wanted to check it all the way back to there. Alright, everybody, that's going to do her, and I will see you guys again Tuesday. So for now, this is Done or Done Out.